Today we're making a country-style potato au gratin, and they're delicious. And we're going to use some ordinary potatoes. These are like white potatoes. And the trick to doing this really is to create one flat side on the potato so it doesn't wobble around, makes it steady. It makes it much easier and safer to cut these into thin slices. Since we are not making a traditional Dauphinoise style potato, they don't have to be super thin. All right, then we're going to create a little seasoning packet here with some salt, some black pepper, always ground black pepper, right? And yeah, we're going to add some potato starch to that. And the reason for this is because the potatoes that I'm using today are like more of a waxy potato, not as starchy as, say, russets. Okay, so I'm just making sure that I have enough starch to do this. But I also like to individually season. And without going through the tedious process of layering the potatoes, I prefer to season them en masse, all at once. So you take your seasonings, whether you use the cornstarch or not, using salt and maybe any herbs that you might have, put them in a bowl, and basically toss them like a salad. Just like a tossed salad, right? Use your hands, it's a lot easier. And what you want to do really is to work those seasonings into the potatoes on both sides of each and every individual slice. Then you just put them in your dish. You don't have to get fancy. Just get them in there, because this is a country style. This is not going to be Michelin star restaurant quality. This is something you're going to serve your family, and it's going to taste fabulous. So once you have them in there, you're just going to add your cream. And this is going to be just enough cream to cover, or almost cover. That's why we're not measuring. You make as much or as little as you want, and you use the amount of heavy cream that's appropriate for the amount you're making, if you know what I mean. And then just cover them up with foil. You want to make a nice tight seal all the way around. And then you're just going to pop that in the oven. Because what we're basically doing is we're simmering the potatoes in cream, but instead of doing it on the stovetop, we're doing it in the oven. And it's going to take about 50 minutes for that type of potato. So the best way to check, okay, is just take it out and look at this. You're going to look at the way that's steaming and bubbling. Isn't that beautiful? And then take a paring knife and just insert it here and there. And if the knife comes in and out very easily, your potatoes are fully cooked. So now comes the cheese topping. And this is why they're not Dauphinoise. Dauphinoise does not use cheese. But what I'm doing here is I'm putting on some freshly grated Parmesan cheese. Okay, because I really like the Parmesan. And you could actually stop here if you wanted to. But yeah, we wanted to get something really cheesy. So we're throwing on some grated sharp cheddar. You can use the yellow one or the white one. I'm using the yellow one today, mainly for contrast and color. The taste would essentially be the same. All right, and then we're going to pop that back in the oven for as long as it takes to melt the cheese, and that could be about 8 minutes or so. Whether or not you heat it up enough to the point where it's going to, brown the top of the cheese really is up to you. But I suggest you put it on a wire rack like I'm doing here, and that's going to allow everything to cool down, because we want to give that cream a chance to set up. And once that's done, and these are actually still pretty hot, you can use a knife to cut, or you can use a spatula like I'm using here. These thin metal spatulas are really good for this type of thing, And yeah, check it out. And we're going to see if we can get that first one out without messing it up. Wait for it. Here we go. Yes, it came out in one piece. Imagine that. So you can just put that on a plate, and you can keep them as squares like this, and they look just fine. But you can also make them round. And what I'm using over there is a biscuit cutter. I have a whole set, different sizes. And you just gently work it in, and then pull it out. And that's more for presentation. But if you want to get into presentation, you actually have to let this cool down a little bit more, so that everything sets up beautifully and everything will unmold beautifully. So, and there you have it. It's actually quite delicious. It goes with anything, whether it's steak, chicken, pork. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you come back each week for more great videos made for people who like to cook. Until then, bon appetit.